I am counting every blessing, counting every blessing, letting go and trusting when I cannot see. I am counting every blessing, counting every blessing.
Welcome to the ND 500 podcast. Today's scripture comes from Hebrews chapter 11, verses 6 and 7. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Verse 7. By faith, Noah, being divinely warned of things not yet seen, moved with godly fear, prepared an ark for the saving of his household, by which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is according to faith. About 5 years ago, when my youngest daughter was 6 years old, we had traveled to Grapevine, Texas, located right outside of Dallas, Texas. On our family vacation, we visited the Great Wolf Lodge. And while we were there, my youngest daughter, she wanted to jump into the swimming pool. She saw myself, my wife, and her older sister having fun in the swimming pool, but at that point, she didn't know how to swim. So at one point while we were swimming, my youngest daughter, she said, "Daddy, I want to jump in." And I hesitated for a moment and I said, "Sure, come on, jump in. Daddy will catch you." So my youngest daughter, she got up enough courage to run. She got a running start and she jumped in. But before she jumped in, she asked if I was sure that I was going to catch her. And I promised her that I would definitely catch her, that I wouldn't let her fall underwater because I knew she couldn't swim. So at that moment, she trusted what her daddy told her. So she took a running start and she jumped into the water, and I caught her and I let her get in the water to make her feel like she actually had jumped and splashed into the water. But just like my daughter had to trust that her father, that I was going to catch her, it's the same thing when it comes to God. This verse is about trusting God. Verse 6 says, without faith, it is impossible to please God. I'll say that one more time. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. This verse goes on to say, he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. The word diligent is defined as constant in effort to accomplish something, to be attentive and persistent in doing something. So what this means is that if we are to seek God, we are to constantly be in a posture of seeking God. So the question becomes, how do we seek God? Well, seeking God ultimately means that we are to have a relationship with God. And the only way to have a relationship is to know him. And to know him means that you have to spend time reading about him. You have to spend time meditating about him. You have to spend time in prayer. And throughout those things, you'll be able to build a relationship with God. And so on today, there may be something that God has told you to trust him with. My message for you today is to be just like Noah and just trust God anyway, regardless of what it is that you see. In verse 7, we see how God told Noah to build a boat, to build a big ark in the middle of this desert. And it hadn't rained in that area in years, but Noah trusted God. He believed God. And Noah, it says, verse 7, he says that Noah, being divinely warned of things not yet seen, he moved with godly fear and prepared an ark for the saving of his household, by which he condemned the world and became the heir of righteousness, which is according to faith. So Noah, although he had been laughed at by those who were around him, people thought he was crazy because he was building this big old boat and he was telling everybody that it was going to rain. Can you imagine being somewhere where it hadn't rained in years and all of a sudden God has told you to go out and do something opposite of what most people around you believe, opposite of what most people around you see, and opposite of what even you will see? But Noah trusted God and he built the ark anyway. And when the time came, it rained and Noah and his family were saved. That was their reward. So just like Noah, whatever it is that God has told you to trust him with, just trust him and know that there's a reward on the other side of faith. Until next time, live in truth.